One of the most exciting frontiers launching on My Mini Factory this May is the Worlds Beyond project from One Page Rules. It's a collaboration unlike anything we've seen before. Earlier today, I spoke with Perram from One Page Rules about this exciting new frontier. So thanks for joining me today, Perram, to talk about Worlds Beyond from OPR. Could you just take a minute to introduce yourself for our audience at home, please?
Oh, yeah. My name is Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Perram. I'm head of communications and community over at One Page Rules, or OPR Games. And this is an extremely exciting project for us because it really is a celebration of the variety and inventiveness and originality that's available in wargaming, especially when you start involving 3D printing and digital sculpting. And it's something that would really only be possible on a platform like My Mini Factory.
Oh yeah, I mean, we've been very excited about it on our end, and everyone is talking about it. I mean, it's being referred to as the biggest collaboration project in wargaming history, and I don't think that's an exaggeration at all. I can't think of a single project that is quite to this scale.
No. I mean, honestly, we thought it was kind of absurd when we started pitching it. The origins of this, if you're not aware, is what's called the One Page Rules Compatibility Program. We're over us at One Page Rules. We have a wonderful, free, easy to play, easy to learn game that you can just download. And indeed, the core rules for all our games are one page. And the game has gotten pretty popular. Really happy about that. We got a big community supporting us. We loved it. And we noticed that in the wargaming space, there isn't quite anything like what the role players have access to. Like the OGL, the D20, the 5e compatible, powered by the apocalypse, like all these licenses that'll let you stay true to your artistic vision and make really cool things that can still play with other people's toys. So we put together what was called the OPR Compatibility Program, and we launched this like a couple of years ago. You might have remembered the first Worlds Beyond, where we teamed up with Titan Forge and Arc Villain Games to kind of like put a spotlight on that program. And since then, over 40 different creators have joined the program who are doing their own cool minis that their own style, their own rule, and they're making custom rules so those minis play in the games as original as they do in the sculpts. And they're all compatible with each other. So we've got this one wargaming engine, the One Page Rules games, and all these armies are compatible with each other. And with Worlds Beyond Brawl, we were like, hey, this is getting pretty big. We've got some major collaborators joining the program. We've got some small indies that really deserve some spotlight. Let's do another Worlds Beyond. But instead of just picking two of the biggest creators like we did last time, let's get as many in here as we could possibly squeeze in here. So much so that I think your team's getting a little bit nervous about how many we've shoved into that program. So we've got 18 different miniature creators, ranging from tiny to huge, and they're all making amazing sculpts. They're all doing a fantastic job in this space, and they all deserve the attention. And they're each making war bands that are going to be playable against each other in one of our skirmish games. Of course, the models will also be available to use in all of our games because all of our games are cross-compatible. But our focus for this campaign is small skirmish squads, so that there's going to be like 53 different war bands total in the program, 500 different miniatures you can create, 18 creators putting it together. And it's just insane that we've got so many people agreeing to come together to make this one epic battle.
I'm glad you mentioned actually the OGL, because I had that on my notes when I was just reading about this project. I thought, this feels like this is like wargaming's answer to OGL. You have OGL and then OPR, depending on which game you want. So how long has this Worlds Beyond Wave 2, how long has this been cooking up? Or because it was only announced like relatively recently sort of to the public. Was it like as soon as you finished Worlds Beyond 1, you were like, let's do it again? Like how did that, you touched briefly upon the idea that you wanted to expand upon it, but that process of, the whole Nick Fury, hey, I'm putting together a team, how long did that take with pulling these 18 names? How long have you been secretly scurrying away working at this is my question.
Well, you're not wrong that this started getting in the plans right after the last one. But in the last one, we were like, we want to do this again. And it was all about, like, who do we bring in? And we were, at the time, thinking about, like, some of the bigger names in the program or some of the ones that are most active in the program. And we were thinking originally it was going to be, like, 4 or 5 teams. Like, we're going to get the band back together and then add a couple of bigger names to it. But the more we did it and the more we've been doing this program, we kept seeing like some amazing stuff, like from other creators, stuff like from Cobra Mode or Twin Goddess, like that focus on these like really unique boutique models that just are not absolutely not proxyable in any other game. They're standalone pieces of art that are compatible in the game and they look awesome. And then like stuff that Warp Miniatures is doing, and then Dragon Trappers Lodge is going insane every month with their crazy stuff. And I really want to like touch on every creator that we've reached out to. It would just take me forever, but like so many of the creators were doing so much unique stuff in this program. They weren't just making like proxies for other people's big major games. They were doing their own stuff. And we were like, it's not really exciting to just do what we did last time. So last year, when we started to seriously think about putting this together, we were like, what if we just invited everyone? And then everyone seemed to be too much because like there's 40 some programmers from, and then we were like, we reached out to you all and was like, how many could we do? Like, what's not going to break the website? And then once we settled on a number that was like a target, like we started to send out invites based off of like who's doing really exciting stuff in the program, who's joining the program like relatively recently that would cause some waves. I mean, like there's some huge names involved this time. Paizo Publishing has joined in with their Pathfinder miniatures. War Machine is popping in, and that's just insane. I'm a humongous War Machine fan. I've got like so many Signar and Legions of Everblight models hanging out in my basement that need to be dusted off and used again. And of course, Warzone is coming in to this. And then of course, like some of our favorites, Titanforge is joining us back again. Like so some big names are associated with this along with the small creators. And so we put together a list of who we wanted. We didn't get everybody we wanted into it. They're just, you know, if I could, it'd be all 50 of them, you know, in joining it. But I think we would explode the internet at that point. So we came up with the list. It was we put some pretty strict requirements like, hey, gang, you've got to get us this list of stuff and you got to do it really quickly and we've got to get organized. And anybody that can't get organized can't play. But everybody really jumped in. Everybody leapt to the challenge. And I'm kind of insane. It's kind of insane how easily actually this has been coming together, how much work everybody's putting in.
In fact, that was something I had on my notes to ask you about. When you are speaking to these other companies, what sort of restrictions or sort of parameters do they have to work with? It was like a set number of the model. You have to have this many models, have to be of this size. You couldn't do anything like too huge or too crazy, I guess. Was there sort of like a meeting where it's like, this is what we're roughly looking for. This is what we expect for a warband size. And did anyone sort of like, was it easy enough for these creators to sort of adapt their stuff to fit that? There was no sort of like pressure points there.
It was mostly easy. Some were a little bit harder than others. You know, depending on like, you know, a lot of these are miniatures that were playable in other games or designed for other systems, and then getting them matched into the OPR system is mostly okay. But some were more challenging than others to come up with ways to make them still feel like people are familiar with. Like I know, like some of the War Machine stuff, the designers that were working with that team had to get like really creative, and they're really happy with what they put together for that. But what we did is we wanted to target the skirmish games because that's like a nice little bite-sized, like 10, 12 model range of goodies that you can easily put together, paint in an evening or paint in the weekend and get playing. And it's like a nice little bite-sized sample that will give you a good taste of what that creator does. And then we basically like, well, this is kind of what a warband does. And we put together 2 templates that are like, hey, do this, which is like a hero model to lead your warband, 5 infantry to back them up, and then either 5 more infantry that are different to spice things up, or like 3 sort of like ogre or mounted characters or bigger characters and stuff. But don't go too big. Don't bring any giant dragons in because they're not playable in the skirmish games. And we want these to all be like relatively balanced teams with each other. And the teams were designed that to give you options. You're not going to play with all of the models that come in your pack. It's just the pack is designed to give you a bunch of options that will make your own custom warband. So even though this isn't like other games where you're going to grab this and you're going to play that exact list of 10 models as is, you're going to go grab this and you go like, oh, I'm going to get, I'm going to Dragon Trappers. I'm going to get the Mouse Wizard and the Crow Rider. And then I'm going to go grab a couple of these Gophers warriors. And you're going to play with them. Or you're going to grab some of the Ravaged Star minis because Mini Wargaming is joining in with some of the Ravaged Star stuff. And so you're going to grab some of their soldiers or something like that. Or you're going to grab the Warcaster thing. You're like, oh, I am absolutely going to throw Atlas down because I want a Warjack. And then I'm going to grab some of these heroes and stuff. So even though it is like these tight little war bands, you're going to have a lot of freedom and customization when you're actually playing the game with them.
And when it comes to the actual stats for these warbands and for the individual units, I guess was that something that was more OPR had to sort of take the bulk of that, seeing as you understand the balancing and the world more? Or was it sort of like you'd reach out and say, if they have these certain characters, now you would say, is there any particular ability this character has that you want us to translate into the OPR rule set? I mean, was that more weighted towards you guys doing the rules with input from them, or do you think they understand the system enough to make something balanced that would work?
It's a bit of all around because, we're dealing with a bunch of creators, some of which have been in the program since it launched, and some of them they're literally joining just their first month is going to be literally when this drops. And so it's a bunch of all arounds, and some of them, they make their own stats. They're very familiar with our game. They already know what they're doing. I mean, we're helping out where we can, but they've already got this. They don't need our help. They're good to go. And then some of them have trusted freelancers that they're working with the community. And then we've also started something called Armies as a Service for the compatible creators, where if they want, they can bring OPR in to do the stats, and work with their team.
Nice.
Now it's a completely collaborative process. We're working with the original creators to make sure that no matter which option they chose, the models are going to reflect how they envisioned it playing on the tabletop in a good, well-balanced way. I would say that for Worlds Beyond Brawl, the majority of the armies are being made by OPR. A majority of those creators have opted to work with us directly to get that done. Good Lord, I stayed up last night making Pazos stats myself.
Nice.
And I know the rest of the team is working on their stats. It's really good. We're making sure that this time, for sure, you're going to have really high quality armies that are going to be very fun to play against each other.
I mean, I've just come fresh off the back from the most recent My Mini Factory Creators Gathering, so the sentiment is still sort of going very strong. But I think one of the things I love especially about this project is that it would be so easy for these various, creators and companies to view each other as rivals, whereas this is such a wholesome community sort of event where everyone is supporting each other and coming together, and it's just, maybe I'm being soppy about it, but coming back from seeing people gather in Paris to talk about collaborations and working together, it's just really lovely to see.
Yeah, I mean, this is we do see this as a community benefit. This is good for everybody involved. And we're not even ever suggesting to not play their individual games or not to play a bunch of wargamings. Good Lord, I absolutely love War Machine. I love playing, I love playing Frostgrave. I love playing Oathmark. I love playing, sorry, but I'm glancing. I love playing lots and lots of different games, and I love playing OPR. This is just opening up those models to a bigger audience. It doesn't restrict they can still do everything they could do before. They still have access to the same. You can absolutely still play the Ark World stuff with Warp miniatures, and I encourage you to. That game's fun as heck. But this just means that a bigger audience and more players are going to be able to enjoy and play with those models. And more importantly, now their creations are also going to be able to engage with the creations that other companies are doing for stuff. We're going to have some epic crossovers. I'm going to see a Miri the Barbarian just going toe to toe with a Warjack real soon.
Nice. And so are there plans to sort of go bigger with this further down the line? I mean, do you think there might be a Worlds Beyond 3? Might there be, bring in some more creators?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And,
no, good Lord. I don't know when. I'm not announcing,
of course,
Worlds Beyond 3 next year. And, times change and all things are conditional. But good Lord, this has been so much fun. This has been such a good vibe. And also, like, we really, really believe in the collaboration of and the compatibility program. We really think that wargaming needs something like this to exist, some sort of universal gaming language that we can all play together on.
Yeah.
Because, like, think about it. For like, a lot of these companies do have their own really cool, successful games. But let's say you're a sculptor that wants to just like make really freaking awesome minis, and you've got this idea, and then you want to get it into the market. You're faced with some really uncomfortable choices. You're either going to make your models to be, if you're lucky, you're making role-playing game models, which is great because the OGL exists, and 5e compatible exists, and Pathfinder compatible exists, and Powered by the Apocalypse exists. You can just pick your favorite popular RPG, and there's existing licenses and methods to go make that profitable. If you're wanting to make wargaming stuff, you're going to make proxies for other popular games, or you're going to have to, if you don't have a game of your own, you're going to have to like enter the knife fight of your indie game against everybody else's indie game and try to carve out that audience. And like, for those of you who want to do that, that has that creative spark and has this really cool idea, that's fantastic. But not everybody's going to want to do that. Some people just want to make really cool armies and then watch them bash heads against other really cool armies. And this is this is a kind of addressing that need. Like, the game exists, the community exists. You don't have to reinvent the wheel if you don't want to. Again, not discouraging creators from doing that if that's the challenge and the art that they want to make. But if that isn't the art you want to make, that doesn't mean you're locked out of making some awesome creative ideas.
And of course, Worlds Beyond, like you say, is more focused on the skirmish side of the game. Are there plans to develop
this Brawl
this
is?
One.
Last
Brawl
time it was the big armies. This one was the skirmish ones, because so many creators, and a lot of that was just also like the ask, because we knew that this was going to be an absolute mountain of miniatures, and we wanted to get a good sampling from everybody. If everybody was bringing 300 model armies to the table, nobody could afford the all-in.
Yeah.
It's just a practicality thing. So like with this many creators, it made sense to focus on smaller skirmish stuff. So that like it was just not an unrealistic amount of models in one place.
Yeah, of course. But do you think any of the new people who've got on board for Worlds Beyond 2 are going to approach you and say, "Hey, we want to do a full army"? Are they already asking for that, or is it something? I mean,
most of them already are. Yeah. Most of them already are.
Fantastic.
Most of the creators that are involved in here are already making full armies. The new ones are already working on it. Like I said, like the Paizo printable stuff, they're committed to doing all of their digital models are going to be compatible going forward. And they make dragons and stuff that just is only playable in the full army games. And so those already have stats. They're already good to go. And you know, for those that haven't announced their commitment range, but most of the creators here are already involved, making full armies, fully taking advantage of it. And the plans for the future is that this isn't a one-off event. This is the start of a full engagement in the program.
So for Worlds Beyond, generally, both Worlds Beyond 1 and 2, is there any sort of like actual canon or lore or reason as to why these multiverses are colliding? Or is it more just like on a meta level, this is just a cool idea, let's get everything together? Or is there some attempt to put some sort of like nexus point in the middle that's causing all these worlds to collide? Or is it just fun?
It's mostly just fun. We didn't want to put any creative handcuffs on everybody's individual worlds that they're making to like force compatibility. Thankfully, if you are an OPR fan and you're following our own lore, you know that either in Grimdark Future we set it intentionally out in far space, in the Sirius sector, with the idea that there's these interlinking wormholes that can cause these random stuff from just about anywhere. And if you're a fantasy fan on our Age of Fantasy stuff, you know that our worlds have this like multiversal planar nonsense going on that just makes for like these random encounters and just encourages it, and that's intentional. But we didn't want to force a storyline on other people's worlds or anything like that. So it's mostly just fun. Our worlds that make sense internally. So if you're already an existing OPR player, this isn't going to like break your canon. It just like, of course, the blasted ice walruses from Titan Forge have invaded through a portal. Like that happens every other Tuesday in Age of Fantasy. But you know, this is mostly just the thinnest of excuses to throw some really cool combinations against each other.
And out of all the new guest warbands that have joined for Worlds Beyond 2, do you have any personal favourites? So any ones that you like, oh, I need to definitely pick up and play. I know you can't be biased, and it's an awkward thing to ask.
I do, and I'm trying to be super neutral and share the love here. So I don't want to call out too many specifics on this one.
No, that's absolutely fine.
Everybody really brought their A game. I got surprised. My printer's already going vroom at the moment, personally, just to get as many of these on the table as I can.
Yeah, no, I know that some of my favourite miniature designers are signed on as well, so I'm definitely going to have a look and see what they've put into it as well. So, yeah, it sounds like an incredibly exciting project. So, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. I'm speaking on my behalf, of everyone at My Mini Factory, when we say we are very excited for this project. It's like represents and stands for everything that we hold dear, so we are super excited. Could you just remind us when it's going live?
Yeah, it's going to be going live on My Mini Factory's Frontier on the 12th of May, and we are super hype. And we absolutely agree. Like, this would not be possible without all the support and coordination and unique community that My Mini Factory was able to build.
I appreciate that. And again, thank you for stopping and chatting. And speak soon, and look forward to seeing it.
See you all soon, and I hope you all jump in.
Thank you.